As we are about to get started, I want to introduce our host chef tonight. Jess, how did we meet you, Jess Revels?
Let's see. I think you found me through Instagram actually, and just reached out last summer. And I came down to Alabama and
Came to Swedish Chefs.
did the Swedish Chefs. Yeah.
So last year we hosted a pastry chef competition called Swedish Chefs of the South, which is a little tricky to say 10 times in a row.
Yeah.
And Jess was one of our chefs that came down. She's from Chattanooga, Tennessee. And she and Brian McDonald have done a lot in the culinary world there. She's the pastry chef and kitchen manager at Bread and Butter. And what was your official title at Max? I don't want to.
Pastry chef and house manager. I do a lot of the coordinating for events and all that, but I also make the desserts.
And they do some phenomenal work. She had some phenomenal desserts for us at Swedish Chefs, and is frankly just a lovely person too. So it's always great when you work with a chef that's fantastic to hang out with, and has a great teaching spirit. And so we thought she would be a great one to bring this class to you guys tonight. Some of y'all may be planning on cooking along. Some of y'all are just doing live interactive TV. That's fine too. I know we're on Facebook, and I think our team is going to be sending me, if you're on Facebook, go ahead and roll call in and tell us where you're from on Facebook as well. And they will translate the chats over to Zoom so I can see them. So we want to thank our hosts. Our sponsor tonight is the Southern Peanut Growers, and Leslie Wagner and her group do a tremendous job of representing the peanut growing community, which a lot of that's in Georgia, but there's a whole region and that has a tremendous amount of impact in the food supply by growing some of the most sustainable crop you can grow. So we'll talk more about that later. But first, I want to get Jess to tell us what are we cooking tonight and how are we starting off?
Yeah, so I've got two different recipes for tonight. We're gonna do a peanut butter cream pie, and then we're gonna do a peanut butter Yule log. And we're actually gonna use this peanut butter mousse that we're gonna start off with, and it's gonna be versatile. You're gonna be able to use it for both recipes, which I think is super fun. It kind of gives you an idea of multiple ways to use one recipe, which I think is fun. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah. Are we ready?
I think we're ready.
Okay. All right. So first for the mousse, we're going to whip our whipped cream. Basically, we're going to end up putting this to the side once it's been whipped. And then we're going to combine our other ingredients and then fold in our whipped cream. And that's what gets you that light, fluffy mousse that you really want for your pie. And that's going to go in the center of the cake. So I have already portioned out my things just to make this a little more streamlined. But I have my trusty KitchenAid. She's been with me for about a decade now, so she's hanging in there. But basically, we're gonna go in with this heavy whipping cream and fit the KitchenAid with the whisk attachment. And always start off a little slow so you don't splatter your whole kitchen with heavy cream.
I've heard that's important to not splash it everywhere.
Yeah, it definitely is. I always start on really slow and then work my way up no matter what I'm making. Just so that if you're working with a big bowl like I do at the bakery, if you're adding flour, it'll just go everywhere and it's not fun to clean up. So basically I'm just kind of letting this somewhat come together. And then I'm going to add in the powdered sugar here. And I don't add a lot because I personally don't like sweet desserts that are sweet just to be sweet. I kind of want all the ingredients to shine and to have their own place in what we're making.
They might call that balanced.
Yes. So I've got that in there. I'm gonna scrape down this bowl, which is super important when you're doing any kind of mixing or baking in a KitchenAid or any kind of bowl, just to make sure that you get all those ingredients down in there and well incorporated.
And I've heard that it's good to cut the mixer off before you do that. Is that true?
Yeah, yeah, you don't want that your spatula getting stuck in there. So I'm just going to turn this up now that we have the powdered sugar and I've done my scrape to get this like really nice and fluffy for us, which takes just a couple minutes. I had a chef tell me one time that it was very important to scrape whenever you change the color of the recipe that you're making. So if you're adding food coloring or even just as simple as vanilla, just scrape. And that's always like stuck with me, and like changing the color means scrape.
And that makes sense because otherwise one little drop of food coloring that's on the side will change everything as you're pouring it out.
Exactly. So this is just about to where I want it, and then I'll kind of like show to the camera. Because in the recipe, and I'm sure like most people see it says like whisk until stiff peaks. Some people are like, what does that mean? So I'm going to kind of show you guys what that means. Get this guy off here.
Stiff
and
peaks.
Basically, yes, what that means is you want it to stick to where if you hold your whisk upside down, it's going to have stiff little peaks there. So
Teresa asked on the chat, Jess, is the cream cold or room temperature?
Cold. You want this cold. Yeah. And it will come together faster for you as well. And even sometimes if it's really hot in your kitchen or really hot outside, you can put your actual mixing bowl in the fridge or the freezer too. And that'll be super helpful, and it'll help it come together smoother and faster for you as well. So I'm getting down in here. For years at the bakery, we did not have, it was me and 2 other employees. And we did all of our dishes all of the time. So I'm a firm believer of like less dishes, the better. So I like to scrape my bowl like as best as I can, getting everything out. That's saving your ingredients, that's saving you time, all of those things. But that way I don't have to go wash this. I can go directly into the same bowl. So what we're gonna do now that whipped cream is to the side. I'm sorry. Oh, so now
we had a question here. Okay.
Yeah, what is that?
Well, I thought I heard one, but then it went away. Yeah. So if you do have a question and you want to put it in the chat, please do that. You can do it on Facebook, and it'll get sent over here to us as well. So feel free.
So now that we've got the cream like nice and whipped to the side in the bowl, I've just put my portioned out room temp cream cheese. So we're gonna get that nice and fluffy in here for us. And now we're going to the paddle attachment, because you're wanting to cream this now and like get it smooth. You're not wanting to whip air into it. So again, start slow and work my way up. And I pulled this cream cheese out maybe like 2 hours ago. That you don't want it completely like warm, because then it'll start to like separate, and you don't want that to happen in your mousse. So just to where it's come up to room temp. And now I've got this like fairly like smooth. Then we're gonna go in with our peanut butter, which is the star of the show. Yeah. And again, just really trying to make sure that I'm scraping this bowl down. I know you guys can't see down in there right this second, but I am scraping that cream cheese so that it really gets combined with that peanut butter. And then I'm going to go ahead and add this vanilla in.
What kind of vanilla do you use?
We use Madagascar vanilla at the bakery.
It's always good if you can find it.
Yeah, it's the good stuff. So I'm just letting this completely combine and like get really smooth. I'll probably scrape it one more time here just to be sure, because we don't want like any like hidden little lumps when we fold in this whipped heavy cream, because we're going to do that super gently, and because we want to keep that air that we worked so hard to get in that whipped cream.
That's fantastic.
All right, back up. And I really like this recipe. You can use this to make like a pedophore style or something if you wanted for like the holiday season, in a tall glass bowl. We're gonna put it in a pie today. I think it's super fun. So I like the way this looks now. That paddle will come off. She's all like nice and creamed.
Hold it back up there 1 second for us, Jess.
Sorry.
And just
give
us a good look in the bowl. Let it focus. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Okay. So we're gonna scrape this off here. Get as much of that good stuff as we can off. Sometimes I just go in with my fingers. All right. So, come on, little bulls. Wanting to fight me. So, now that we have this, I'm literally going to take this whipped cream that we did and get it all in here. And I don't know if there's any Schitt's Creek fans out there, but we're gonna fold in the cheese. And basically the way I learned in culinary school was to go down and up in a motion like an 8. So you're gonna go down the bowl and gathering those ingredients as you go around. That way you're not like smushing. You
don't want to smash the air back out of there.
Right, exactly.
And so in the bowl right there, you've got basically 3 ingredients, right? You got peanut butter, cream, and vanilla, peanut butter, cream cheese, and vanilla. So
right.
It's just about how it's mixed, and that's making it that texture you're looking for. Exactly.
So that's like the main part, technique wise, of this type of recipe, like a mousse. You'll see it again in a little bit when we make the chiffon cake. We're going to like fold in the whipped egg white, and it'll be in the same motion. So once I get to a certain point, I do kind of like to like get into the center of my ingredients here and like really make sure and fold it over. Now with this, you could go ahead and go directly into your pie shell. I like to let it set up a little bit, just because you can like get an even, nice layer in your pie. So that's the mousse.
Nice.
So yeah, it does take just a minute because like you're not vigorously wanting to get that air out, but that's her. So for this purpose, I did already make some and refrigerated it so that we can go through. We're not waiting 2 hours for this to set, but
nice.
Yeah.
While Jess is finishing that up, we're gonna go ahead and do our first trivia question. And the way to participate is in the chat here, is to put in the number that you think is the correct number. So the trivia question is, which of these numbers is the percentage that Americans have? What percent of Americans have a peanut allergy? Is it 4%, 12%, 8%, or 1%? So y'all can drop that in the chat, and we will pick our our team will jump in if somebody gets the right answer here, and we will pick the right answer. Let's see. I see the right answer coming in once, twice, and let's see. All right. So the correct answer is actually surprising. It's 1%, which is pretty amazing because, a lot of times people are super, it's one of the cool things about peanut butter. It's, there's egg allergies, there's all sorts of different allergies. But it's one of the ones that you'd be surprised how little there actually is. I know I was surprised when I first got that number. So I believe if our team will, it looks like A1A, if one of our team will message A1A, we were trying to pick the third correct answer there, but we got 2. So, all right, Jess, I'm gonna hand the mic back to you.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the mousse that I made before. It's just kind of all come together. She's like set and ready to go. I did already make the whipped cream, but it's basically exactly how we did to begin the mousse. It's just in a larger amount. So for the actual pie, it is like a tedious process. If you guys got a chance to like read the recipe, you like really need to make sure and use cold butter. You're going to cube it into like pea size butter, and you want everything to be super, super cold. Bring it together. I like to use sourdough discard because I have it at my access here at the bakery, which is basically it's levain, or like a sourdough starter. I'm sure like some of you guys have like passed around through your family or friends like to make sourdough bread at home. Basically the discard is just the leftover, which is like a little bit, she's a little dead, which means like we don't use it in this pie dough for it to rise. We use it for flavor. So whereas like here at the bakery, we would use it to lift and rise our bread. So I have already like made my dough and I've rolled it out. I'm gonna grab it out of the fridge really quick. Sorry. So I have already I rolled it out into like a 1/4 inch thick shell. And this is basically what you want. You see these butter cubes in here. You want them to show just enough to where you're going to have a nice flaky dough. You don't want them so large that they'll actually melt and they'll form like a hole in your crust, which is like not fun. So
yeah, Jess, Teresa asks, what can you use if you don't have a starter? It's a great question.
Yeah, you can just use like water, cold water. If you really want to make sure that your dough and your water does stay cold, you can actually add a teeny bit of vinegar into that water and it'll really keep it cold for you. Yeah. I actually use the discard, and then if my dough doesn't come together, because it can get with the whole wheat flour, the whole wheat flour is thirsty. She like wants to drink a lot of stuff. So I will still add a little bit of cold water to this recipe sometimes if it doesn't come together. It truly just depends on the humidity, how hot it is in the kitchen, all of those things.
Some of y'all are in very humid climates. Some of y'all are in very dry climates. So
right, yeah, it depends on your altitude, all those things. Like baking is a science. So, basically, what I have here is just a glass pie shell. I fit it with a parchment round. I like to use parchment in like just about everything, just to ensure that things don't stick. I have not greased this in any way. None of that. So here's my pie round. She's cold, and I just sit it right to where it will fit, to where it overlays on the side here, because we're gonna form our crust. like that. And basically, to ensure that it sits and she doesn't fall when we bake it, I really push down. And like really getting it into those ridges there. Now, what I would do is we're gonna go over, let me see if I can just slightly bend it over the edge like I have here. And we're gonna go all the way around. And we're leaving a lip because that's where we're gonna crimp.
Very nice. So while Jess is finishing that, I got another peanut factoid. One of the things a lot of people don't know about peanuts is that they are one of the most sustainable crops we grow. They are literally a zero waste plant. Every part of the plant is used. I've seen farmers baling the peanut tops and making them into cattle feeding hay bales. Of course, the roots, they're legumes. So under the soil is where those beautiful peanuts grow. And then once they're shelled, people can even use the shells for a lot of different agricultural products. So it's got a very, very small carbon footprint, actually uses less water than any other kind of nut. And they can actually improve the soil. So getting to learn a lot about peanuts tonight.
Yeah. Excuse me, sorry. Peanuts got me thirsty. So, excuse me. So I went around and then I tap the top just to ensure that it's really sitting and that it's going to keep. So the crimping part is what is my favorite part. And basically we're going to use I'm right-handed. So my left thumb and pointer finger, I'm going to kind of like give a little duck shape there. And then I'm going to use my pointer finger from my right hand, and I'm going to push the dough right in between those two fingers. And then I'm just going to go all the way around. And I'm wanting it to stay right on the lid, on the lip of the pie shell or the pie tin that you're using. You're more than welcome to use like a pre-made shell if you wanted to. You could also use like an aluminum foil pie tin that can just like easily be disposed of. And your pie dough actually might like the aluminum foil better. For some reason, like glass, it wants, because of that, all of that butter in the dough, sometimes it can sink. But that's the nature of baking, is you get all the way through the process and then it doesn't work.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The hardest thing about baking to me is that it is actually a science, and there's exact proportions have to be. I like to be a little creative, and sometimes you hit a home run when you're creative, but it's harder in baking than a lot of other types of cooking.
It is. Once you find those ratios, then you can like truly get to like mix and match those. But that's it. That's what you want there. Here on your edges. So for this dough, I'm going to freeze this for at least like 2 hours before I even think about baking it. I would actually prick it. I forgot to bring a fork over with me. But just like ever so slightly with a fork so that it really, you don't want that bottom part to puff up because then you won't have anywhere to put your filling. So. That's that. And then I have my baked one here. And so for the baking, because we're not going to bake this pie again, whereas like a pecan pie or a pumpkin pie, you're gonna bake it again with the filling. This I put I lined it with aluminum foil, pushed it all the way down and covered my entire edges. And then I fill it with dried chickpeas. You can use any kind of bean that you want. You could use rice if you wanted, just like a dried bean or legume. Just to like use it, you're using it for weight. So yeah. So that's our dough. And we're gonna go in with this lovely peanut butter mousse that we made.
And I've got one more question from Teresa.
Yeah.
She says, I noticed in the recipe that you use all-purpose and wheat flour. Why is that?
I use the whole wheat because I like the flavor of it, but also it's really going to give you some structure to your pie dough because it is such a heartier flour. And it'll keep your crimp like pretty nice because it's going to be substantial for you.
Those gluten pieces in there actually have some staying power, and so they really hold it together more than if you did a rice flour crust. It's going to crumble everywhere without some sort of extra additive.
Exactly. So
great questions. Anybody else have questions? You can either let Teresa do all the heavy lifting, or y'all can ask as well.
All right, so we've got this in here, our mousse, and then this is our whipped cream. And I like to stand it tall. Like I like to give some height to whatever it is that I'm making. That way it's like gives some depth. And I like to use a small little offset spatula like this. I have a lot of accuracy. I can like really get at it and get it exactly where I want it with this utensil.
Yeah, and when you get done with that, Jess, if you'll hold that up and just show everybody kind of what
of course. So basically I want it to look like mountains going on, and so I kind of like will go with my offset and like put little like swooshes in. Kind of like, can you see these tall little mountains?
Oh yeah, that's lovely.
Yeah. And so for something like this, I mean, I think peanut butter and chocolate are best friends. So I would, if I could have gloves. Yeah. Thank you. Just to make it like extra pretty, I would shave some chocolate on top of here. And you could use any kind of chocolate that you want. I like to use a darker chocolate. And I actually just use a regular, just food vegetable peeler. And I have my chocolate and just go across your chocolate. And I know this wasn't in the recipe, but I think it's really pretty.
So you could do milk chocolate, you could do dark chocolate, just any sort of
anything
chocolate
you have on hand, or and then actually what we're gonna make the chocolate ganache for the Yule log, and you could even put a layer of that and then your mousse and then chocolate shavings if you wanted. It's just really kind of whatever you're feeling, but I think for like the holiday season, go all out.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
So that's lovely.
Chocolate peanut butter crack.
All right, so Mildred has a question. Do you let the whipping cream for 2 hours also? I think she means whipping cream stand for 2 hours also. And then Cindy asks, would the peanut butter mousse be good for a dip?
Oh yeah, you could definitely use that as a dip, like with like graham crackers or something. For sure.
Yep. Yeah. I like it. Okay.
I would. I would. So that is the pie and our mousse. I actually was, Brian and I, and here at the bakery, everything that we do is completely locally sourced as much as possible. We work with the local farmers markets as closely as possible to keep everything as natural as possible. And that's kind of like, I think, what drew Andy like to me and to Max and the bakery in the first place, was because of all of the local ingredients. And it's about the ingredient, and it's about the people for us. And I was talking to one of the coordinators with our favorite local farmers market. Her name is Megan. And I was telling her about doing this class. And I was like, yeah, I'm doing a peanut butter pie. And then I'm also doing a Yule log. And she was like, really? And apparently she is from about 20 miles north of Colorado Springs. She said this was back in the 80s is the story. But she said that basically they would go out into the mountains and they would have hunters, and whoever found the log won, and they would have to ride the log down the mountain. And she says in her story that she read out for me that she's not really sure how much they actually rode it down, seeing as how it's a tree and bark going down a mountain. So she said that more than likely they would like attach rope and drag it down. But I just thought that was such a cool story. She said that they would drink this special holiday drink that was called wassail. I'm not sure if anyone out in Colorado knows. This was brand new to me. I just thought it was really cool, and I wanted to share with everyone because, again, it like truly is, it's about the story, and I want to bring it to more of a deepened meaning of what we're making than just a dessert. So I thought that was pretty cool. She said that they would like, they were in a Sunset magazine in 1986, and her brother were on the front of it. So but she sent me a couple pictures. This was the mountain that they would go and have to hunt for.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and this was like the town hall Yule log here. And then she actually sent me the recipe for the drink. And I'm sure I can get it to you, Andy, and you guys can share it along.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I just thought that was kind of a cool little like tidbit. I did not know. I've just always been fascinated with like a rolled sponge cake. As a kid, my papa would always eat the Little Debbie Swiss cake rolls, and I just thought they were so fun to unroll it and all of that. So I just wanted to share a little story while we're here. Yeah, so I guess we'll go on to the Yule log cake itself, unless you had something else, Andy.
I've got one thing, A1A, if you will check your messages in the chat, or you can send me an email, andy@eatyall.com, with your email address and mailing address, because you're a winner, but we don't know who you are. So A1A, if you'll reach out to us, that'd be great. All right, are we ready, Jess, or you got just a minute for me to share one more fun fact here?
Go ahead, share on.
So this one, you did such a good job pulling up your worksheet. I'm gonna pull up mine. So I've got a quick water usage thing that was actually very interesting to me. So peanuts use 3.2 gallons of water to create an ounce of them, to grow 1 ounce. Almonds used 28.7 gallons of water, pistachios 23.6, and walnuts 26.7. So that's a pretty big difference, and it's really cool how efficient peanuts are. I guess part of that's because they're growing underground. They can be super efficient with water. But that's a fun fact. If anybody's ever asking you how much water your peanut farmer use, now you know. And Michael does say he would love the wassail recipe. So if you will share that with us,
sure.
We can get that to Michael and anyone else who is
Cool.
interested.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited to make it myself. It sounds really fun. Cool. Are we ready?
We are ready.
Okay. So for this, it's a chiffon cake is the technical like name, and that is because we're going to whisk our egg whites and fold it in like we did previously with the heavy cream. But to begin with, I like to go ahead and go into the bowl with, I have my whole eggs and my egg yolks here. And I'm going to go in and with the paddle attachment, sorry.
Everybody wants the recipe for the wassail. So.
Oh, awesome. I'm so excited to tell her. So with this paddle, I'm just letting it kind of basically just combine. I'm not trying to do anything right at this moment. Just kind of break those eggs. My trusty KitchenAid here. Okay, so that is like combined together just enough. That's all we're trying to do. We're going to add in our sugar and water and vanilla. And we're going to mix again.
What's beautiful about your AirPods is the mixer is completely silent. It's like a.
Oh, great.
It's amazing. I'm like, is that thing even on? Yeah.
That's awesome. So this is just combined. It's going to be like pretty watery because we added that water. Basically just getting it to come together. And then I have my flour, baking powder, and salt here already. We're going to go right in. Again on low.
Here it goes.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to scrape just to be sure. We want to make sure that all that flour gets incorporated. And it likes to, everything likes to stick to what I call the nipple at the bottom of the bowl. So really get down on there. And back up just for another like couple minutes. Really just trying to get it nice and smooth and incorporated.
And y'all notice how Jess did. She's got her ingredients all measured out, all ready to go, and so she can churn through this without having to go back to the cabinet to find one more thing. And she knows what she's missing before she starts cooking. I think that's.
It's called a mise en place. Everything in its place.
And that's French, just in case for those of you taking notes at home. I know Michael Gilreath's probably trying to write that down. Yeah, it's
MISEEN. Mise en place, PLAC. Basically, it just like it makes it for whenever you are making something, you're not like halfway through a recipe and then you realize I don't have vinegar or I don't have, blah blah blah. And so that way before you even get started. So basically here is the beginning of the batter. Just nice and silky combined. And we're gonna put it in a nice clean bowl here. And I love these rubber spatulas with the curved side because you can like really get all your goodies. Now for this purpose, I know earlier I talked about saving dishes. But the next part that we're gonna do is like fairly technical. We're gonna actually like beat the egg whites, and you really need a nice clean bowl. You don't want any water, you don't want any yolk in it, or it's really not going to whisk up for you. Yeah.
No water.
No. My trusty sous chef tonight, Brian, coming in with the win. Yeah, you really with the egg whites, and I know earlier you guys asked about like cold or room temp, or I like to use the cold egg whites. I feel like it really comes together and like gets a lot of air into it. And for this purpose, because I am in what we call my cold kitchen, and I don't have an oven over here. This is where I do all of my laminating and croissant work. So we keep it about 67. I'm looking for my, yeah, she's like 66 in here right now, because everything I do in this kitchen is with cold butter. And like we were talking about earlier, it needs to be as cold as possible for as long as possible. So I'm going to like show you guys exactly how to do this. I'm going to lay it out, and then I have a prepared roll already, and I can show you guys how to do that portion of it.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that I have my own like cold kitchen over here now. So all the bakers in the morning are next door, like with the 500-degree deck oven. And I'm like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. So nice, clean, dry bowl. These are the 3 egg whites from the 3 whole eggs that we use the yolks. And then with the whisk attachment for this, because we do want to whip that air into it.
Fantastic. While Jess is doing that, I'm going to do our final trivia question for tonight. So there are 4 major varieties of peanuts grown in the U.S. And I'm going to give you 6 varieties, and you're going to tell me which 2 are varieties that I came up with this afternoon working on the trivia for this. So the first one is Valencia. The second one is Eastern. The third one is Virginia. The 4th one is Runner. And the 5th one is Turkish. So 2 of those are, the old game, 2 truths and a lie. Well, that's 4 truths and 2 lies. So you can pick out the 2 peanut varieties that I made up and invented this afternoon. We're going to pick a winner from the correct answers there. So Jessica, you can play along as well if you'd like. So somebody said I said 5. So I said Eastern, Virginia, Runner, Spanish, Valencia, and Turkish. Look at that. We got some correct answers. So the correct, I'll give y'all one more second to enter in there, but that's pretty fun. So it looks like Miss Cindy said Eastern Turkish. Teresa's told me that I only said 5. Nope, I said 6. And Debbie said Eastern Turkish, and Denise said Eastern Virginia. Michael Gilreath said Valencia in Turkish. He's only half right. And Stacy was our 3rd correct answer of Eastern Turkish. So Runner, Virginia, Spanish, and Valencia are actually the correct 4 names. I was going to throw in Jogger I was going to do Runner and Jogger and let y'all decide which one was right. But anyhow, all right, Jess, back to you.
Yeah. So it does take a few minutes, and my egg whites might have been out a few minutes longer than I would have liked, but they're coming together. We really want to get quite a bit of air in this, because that is what's going to, it's like I was showing to the screen. This is pretty dense. So all of the air coming into that cake is going to be coming from these egg whites. So really wanting to make sure that we get as much air into them as possible. It's looking like she's almost there. And then I have a half sheet, like cookie sheet here, lined with parchment, and I've sprayed with the nonstick. I'm just gonna check these using that trick I showed you guys with the, yeah. So they're standing up. I like it. Thank you. So we're gonna take all of these egg whites and go right in.
Debbie asks, if not in cold room, should you put other batter in fridge while whipping egg whites?
No, because it's not gonna, yeah, I mean, if you're in like a 80 degrees or something, like, you know, like more than that, then maybe, but it doesn't, no longer than it took for the egg whites to come together. You shouldn't need to do that. So basically, again, we're just gonna go down, bringing that batter from the bottom of the bowl and over, and like not beating that air out of it. Sometimes I'll kind of move it around so that I can get that batter all nice and in those egg whites.
Nice.
Yeah.
And y'all be sure, if you are in the Chattanooga area, be sure and go see Jess and Mac at
Yes, please.
places
Yeah.
there. Jess, what's your Instagram where people can follow what you're doing?
Yeah, it's Mesa Jess. It's MESSA Jess. I had a chef tell me that I was there was a couple parts to Jess and one part was Jar Jar Binks. So
That's funny.
all right, so this is come together just nice. It's like super light and fluffy, whereas like earlier it was not. That's exactly what you want. And basically we're gonna go down onto this prepared sheet. And earlier when I baked one of these off, I did 375 in like 7 minutes, and it was just right for me. You might want to start checking it maybe at like 5 minutes, because this is such a fluffy thin cake that depending upon your oven, you might yeah, I'll use that. Thank you. You can always add time, you can't take it away. So
Oh yeah, for sure.
Basically, yeah, I've learned that a few times.
And Teresa's asking, if I wanted to make this cake chocolate, how would you do it?
You could probably just add in a little bit of cocoa powder in with the flour, and you could go chocolate that way. I would maybe, for this recipe, I would maybe take out 2 tablespoons of the flour and sub it for cocoa powder.
That's fantastic. And also, some of y'all may notice we sent you, I believe, 2 recipes. Jess made this. She did a test run, and then she was tweaking on it. And like all great chefs, she said, "Oh, I think I figured out a way to make this a little bit better."
Mm-hmm.
And she tweaked a couple things. So be sure you use the second recipe that we sent you. And if you did not get a second recipe, let us know. We can send one out to everybody, because Jess figured out that you can make it a little lighter and fluffier with her additional tweaking. So that happens sometimes with great chefs. They figure out a better way to do it.
Yeah, I think so. So here's the cake. It's really thin. It's gonna just barely cover your sheet tray. That's you didn't do anything wrong. That's exactly how it is. So I would put this just directly into the oven. Don't tap it. Don't do anything. Just right in. And then
Slam the oven door when you put it in there, right?
yeah, I would. I need a towel. So for these types of cakes, like for this roll cake, you're going to use a kitchen towel or another piece of parchment. I kind of like using a towel. It's a little looser versus the parchment, which can kind of be a little stiff. So, but when the cake comes out, immediately run your offset spatula, like the little one that I was using earlier, just around that rim, just like very quickly. And then with directly, I know it seems a little weird, but right onto your towel, this is powdered sugar. So you're gonna cover this whole thing with powdered sugar. And then we're gonna go with the peanut butter powder. You can use like a protein powder or anything that you have or that you can find at the store. I keep it around for my smoothies. So, but this is just gonna like furthermore get even more peanut butter flavor into this. So like, I don't know. Yeah, you guys can see. So,
Looks good.
so when that cake comes out, you're gonna take it and flip it right onto this. Take your pan off, peel that parchment, and then go directly over the cake. And then all of this is gonna get rolled up, all this flavor, the sugar and the peanut butter powder, right into that cake. So then once you have it like that, I kind of like will take and roll and pull the towel back and then a little bit more so that my towel, you don't want it rolled up into your actual cake. So that's that portion. Now that I've got peanut butter everywhere.
And Stacy, apparently you have a message in your thing. If you need to just send us an email, that's fine too, Stacy, that picked the 2 incorrect answers for the peanut varieties. You can just send us an email. You can reply to the email you got about the class. Oh, wow, look at that.
Yeah, so this cake I baked off earlier this afternoon. She's completely cooled. You want to make sure that when you roll it, that you roll it to where where your end piece is going to be on the bottom so that it seals it. And basically, we're going to unroll. You want to do it gently. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to take that same mousse that we did for the pie. We're going to spread all the way onto this cake. And then we're going to re-roll it.
I was wondering.
Hey,
do we have one more question?
Malachi has a question.
Yeah.
I was wondering how long did the cake take?
Did it take to bake?
Yes.
Yeah. For me in the commercial like combi oven that I have here, it took 7 minutes at 375. I would do 375 in a home, but I would start looking at it at like 5 minutes because you're probably going to go a little faster in a home oven than you would here. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Hope that was helpful. Yeah. So This is that peanut butter mousse. She's coming back. And we're gonna spread this all the way, leaving just a little bit of an edge so that as we roll it, it doesn't spread out so much that it starts spilling out.
That looks so good. Wow. And just be sure, I don't know if I reminded you, but when you guys get done doing this, plate up a couple of those and take some really good pictures so we can share them.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right.
I see your photographer is working hard. Your videographer, assistant there.
Yeah.
Doing good work.
All right. So we're going to just re-roll this right back up. Again, being somewhat gentle because we don't want it to break on us. There we go. And you can see the nice swirl there. So, and for the ganache and for this like purpose, so that I could show you guys all of the steps, and I really wanted to show the technical part for the mousse and the cake. I've already made my ganache and let it set. You do not want to pour it right onto this while it's like nice and fresh and hot. You want to let it sit. I know I put it in there, but at least maybe like an hour, 30 minutes to an hour, let your ganache sit, because you want to pour it over and you want to be able to like nicely spread it and get it to look like bark, like a log. So this is the ganache. It's like pretty set, I guess. And I'm gonna go right across the top. Now, if this was like fresh ganache that we just made, it would just be pouring everywhere. And to make the ganache, you're just gonna heat up your heavy cream. I like to add a little bit of honey just for a little bit of sweetness, and salt, just in a saucepan, and then have your chocolate in a bowl. Once that cream comes up to like a slight simmer, almost a bowl, take it off and pour it right over that chocolate and let it sit for maybe like 5 minutes. But so I'm just gonna spread this out. Sometimes I'll use a fork and like comb it if you wanted, but I think you can achieve.
It looks like a log.
Yeah. So that's that. I have one that is like, it's gonna continue to set even further now that it's on your cake. I have a finished one here. And I did on a nice plate. This is how I would present it at a holiday party. I also did make the candied peanuts that I gave the recipe for. I like this recipe. It's like egg white again. Basically everything tonight we were whipping egg whites or heavy cream. And you can just like decorate this however you would like with little chunks. I like the bigger like pieces.
Just keeps getting better and better.
Yay. And then sometimes like I know I'm a big Christmas decorator, so I'll have like the fake holly hanging around. You could decorate with that, or I have a little ribbon here that you could place and kind of like hang out. Yeah.
That's lovely. Oh yeah, hold it right
you could
there.
even
That's
use
great.
fresh rosemary to kind of get that like pine looking, pine tree of the holiday season going on. Yeah.
Teresa says outstanding and said lovely about 5 minutes ago. Cindy says so pretty. So Debbie says fantastic.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate
Well,
y'all being here.
it was awesome to have you do this class, Jess. I really appreciate it. I love
Yes.
the whole thing. Like I never would have.
Oh, uh-oh. Did we lose ya?
To it looks like message us on Instagram. Is it ME? I think my internet just said it was unstable.
There
ME.
we go. Yeah, I lost you for a second.
Be sure tell everybody your Instagram handle one more time.
Yeah, it's MESSA Jess.
There you go. JESS. And you can follow, if you go to @Let's Eat Y'all, we've been talking about her in this class a few times. So Mariana also put it in the chat. So that's great. Stacy, I hope you sent your sent your address. Eddie Church says, great job, Jessica. You're a natural.
Oh, thank you,
So
Eddie.
fantastic. We want to thank Leslie Wagner and the Southern Peanut Growers for sponsoring this and helping us put all this together. This has been a fantastic. We've done several of these this year. Every day we do this, I'm so amazed by the creativity, the ingredients, and the chefs and their talents. So I hope y'all will stick around for more of these in the future, and be sure to go to peanutbutterlovers.com for more recipes and peanut tips. And we will see you next time. Thanks, Jess.
Thank you. Bye, guys. Have a good night.
See ya.